Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Nedling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome everyone to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Nedling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. Today, our guest is Nicole Edwards. She and her topic will help to empower you to grow your business or your life and take it to the next level. Let me tell you a little bit about Nicole. She has a professional background in mental health and talent development that spans over 20 years. She's been a catalyst for growth for people and organizations, working with thousands of individuals in educational, corporate, and nonprofit settings. She has dedicated her life's work to stir others to live and lead from a deeply authentic space. With her masterful approach to learning design, she has been speaking and has given opportunities to design certificates and leadership courses that will help emerging leaders. She facilitates corporate retreats, speaks at international conferences, and lands a spot on the big red dot with her TEDx talk called In Your Eyes. In 2019, she created Edwards Authentic, a vision brought to life by providing transformational experiences for professional women. Through insightful content, courses, and retreats, Nicole aspires to create a sanctuary for women to flourish in their personal and professional endeavors. She is a co-author of the International Women of Color Who Boss Up, an Amazon best-selling book seen on CBS and NBC that features the stories of female entrepreneurs of color who have trailblazed their paths, overcoming adversity and relentless pursuit of purpose. Such a great background you have.
Thanks,
Our title today, or our theme, is going to be Juggling All Things Motherhood, Your Business, and Your Life. Oh, can we all relate to that? And even if you take out the motherhood, the other two relate to most all of us. So please join me again in welcoming Nicole Edwards. Such a great background. I love all of the things that you've done and the pursuit of purpose. So we're so aligned, so much synergy between what you do and what I do. And congratulations on your book and being picked up by NBC and CBS.
Thanks, Vicki.
So we always start out with some very simple question. Tell everyone where you live. Where do you call home?
I live in South Florida in Palm Beach County, which is just a little north of Fort Lauderdale. I grew up for most of my life and actually went to UF for undergrad and graduate school. So I ended up actually back here in South Florida, and it's where I've called home for 30 plus years.
Yeah, once you get used to that beach, I'll tell you, it's hard to leave.
Yes, it really is.
Canada beach. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I'm totally spoiled.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine living anywhere else.
Yeah. So let's get right into this. And for those of you that don't have a pen and paper, you might want to get it, because I'm going to be asking her to give us as much advice and tips as we can get out of her today. So first, what advice would you give entrepreneurs regarding using their authentic power in their business? And all of you female entrepreneurs, I want you to listen to this.
I really love this notion of authentic power and what it means for women in business. And so what that means to me when I hear the words authentic power, it means, we hear authenticity, but it really means leveraging all of the wonderful qualities, interests, experiences that you have and integrating them in a way that lets you show up unlike anyone else, boldly, fearlessly, and it gives you an edge because it is your just distinct style and the way that you show up in your business. So if I was gonna say, like, I'm sorry, I'm just getting over a cold, as I mentioned to you earlier, Vicki. So, I think that it is really important to really think about it. I think we hear the word authenticity a lot, and that's a good thing. It's a great word.
Yeah.
It's a great, foundation for anyone really who really wants to have that true purpose fulfilled in their lives.
To me, it's that magnet. People are always talking about what can attract, how can I get leads? How can I attract people to, to look at me, to stay with me? And it's, to me, it is being authentic. People have that radar for false and for people that are just putting on a show. And it takes courage to be authentic, to be yourself. But it is so relaxing. It is so, it takes away the pressure, and we don't need any more pressure or stress.
I love that. I love that, there's an ease about it, right?
Yeah.
It reminds me of the quote that says, when you tell the truth, you have nothing to remember, right?
Yeah.
There's freedom in that. And that's kind of like what this is, right? But you're right. The courage that it takes, it might happen little by little, and that's okay too.
Yeah. But, and everything, you don't want things to come easy. And I always think of being an entrepreneur and how it's sometimes hard is like the diamond. And a diamond doesn't get to be where it ends up that we love it until it has that time to go through the pressure, right? But then the strength of that diamond from the pressure makes it just something that we treasure. And so if we can think of our businesses that way, and the hard work that we have to put into it and the pressure that we have to take, but the end result, the outcome is what we're all looking for.
Absolutely. And the more that we do that, back to kind of attracting, your tribe, so to speak, and the ideal person that you want to do business with, right? I think that's also a recognizable feature when you can see somebody that has moved through their tough spots to get where they are.
Yeah, there's an appreciation of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It says, women of color, what do you think is important for building a memorable and authentic brand? Why?
Yeah, I think for all women, I think this definitely pertains to. I think women of color specifically, since I'm a woman of color, that's kind of my vantage point on the way that I look at the world. But I do think it's very similar to that, the same things that would relate to women in general as entrepreneurs. I think a couple of things come to my mind. The first is that it's really important to do it not alone, right? We're stronger in community. So when we have people that are not only our allies, but people that are working alongside us, we are powerful together. I think that's an essential piece that we definitely should, embrace more.
Yeah,
as,
for sure.
as much as we can. Yeah. And it's hard to show up. Sometimes it's hard to, back to this notion of authenticity. Sometimes we haven't been given the pass to show up fully, right? Because of just whether it was a work environment or just social constructs. Like sometimes we're not able to show up in our truest sense. But I really believe that that is kind of the key to freedom, right? So and when we do it in community, it makes it easier. It takes the leverages it a little bit more.
Easy for you to say.
I know. And so the courage to show the facets of yourself that maybe have been hidden before. I think this is our time right now. I think for women and women of color, this is our time. And it's just essential that we stick true to who we are on our in our to our core.
Yeah, I so agree with that. I think that's why the two things that I teach and coach on are both public speaking, finding your voice, using your voice to the fullest, but also leading with your heart, your head, and your hands, because it's not, you can't lead the way you did when I started in the 70s. No longer. It isn't the hammer trying to beat it into your people. You really have to really be authentic and allow your people to be authentic. And I think I started this podcast because I recognized how much a community is needed. And if I could have some place for you all to congregate, that I could have a resource, that's what I want to have, is here's a resource. If you can't find some help, maybe I have it here at this podcast. So thank you for being part of that.
Thank you for having me. I love what you're doing, and just your passion behind, your authenticity really shines through. So thank you.
Thank you. I love this. So have your personal experiences contributed to finding your own personal niche for your business?
So I can think of several things. So I'll try and kind of compartmentalize them. I think the first thing, one, I mentioned that I'm a woman of color. I am actually a biracial person. So growing up, I was looking through the world through an integrated lens, right? I saw things that made sense, and it was just this common thread of human, just the human experiences. And it wasn't until much later where I became aware that race actually is something that we should embrace and talk about. And it's not something like, we shouldn't be colorblind. We should celebrate our differences and celebrate that human experience that I saw so clearly as a child. So I think that's the first thing. As I grew older, like everyone else, life hits you, right? And sometimes it's not always the way that you planned it.
It usually isn't.
It isn't. Right when I was about to start my career, I was, always going to go straight to the end, get my doctorate degree, which I'm actually pursuing now, but it took me 20 years to go back. But I was in love in graduate school, and I ended up having twins unexpectedly.
Oh, wow.
And so my career plans got placed on hold, and I became a stay-at-home mom because I had two, surprise. And a little, about a year into the twins, as they were growing up, I realized that I have a daughter and a son, that my son wasn't developing in the same way that my daughter was. And long story short, finding out that he was on the autism spectrum, which is a whole nother journey, and it's been a miraculous journey, but very difficult. I have funny stories, I have heartbreaking stories, I have all the things in between, but not ever imagining I would be on the path, that I was on, because that's not how I planned it at all. So really, accepting what life has kind of given you and letting it show you and teach you and grow you, And then also being open to the changes and where life is leading you, because it might be different than what you thought. A lot of us, it probably is the case. And then, from there, just, going through, mental health struggles, just gripping anxiety. I suffered with divorce, right? To finally landing a job that I absolutely loved and did all the things. At a certain point when I could kind of, gain my bearings, I just, I did all the things. I did all the, the extra education and certificates and experiences. And then I really found like, oh, I see how all of these things actually help me, right? And position me into doing the things that I've always wanted to do, which is help others just like you. I studied mental health, so I kind of was coming at it from that angle. And then I learned about the art of facilitation. That just was the love of my life. And I would integrate, principles from mental health into my personal development trainings. And then it just opened me up in a way that I didn't even know that career existed. And then just one thing after the other and one experience, higher than the other. I landed into the world of speaking and starting my own business. And it's just, wow, I can't believe, if you would have told me in the midst of, being a stay-at-home mom, my twins just turned 18, so it was a long time. Yeah. And being on the beginning emerging journey of my son, on his autism journey, I couldn't have imagined it better than where I'm sitting with you today, just really bursting with happiness about my life.
See, it's that diamond. Each of those pressures that you had became facets that made your diamond more interesting, more clear, and yet more valuable to every one of us that gets to learn from you. So it's so wonderful.
I love that. Thank you.
What are 3 things every speaker needs to make their speaking outstanding? This is what I love to teach, so I'm anxious to hear what you have to say.
I too have a love of speaking. There's so many different things, but the 3 that really are important that sometimes may be missed. I think we touched on it already. The authenticity piece. You have to channel your particular style, right? If you are a calm, soothing, that's the energy, your content is that, be that. If you are, I'm more performance based. I have kind of a performing background and my personality is a little vibrant sometimes. So sometimes my, speaking is highly energetic.
Right.
Whatever it is. And again, back to the integrating different facets to make it interesting, but do what is you, not what Brene Brown's doing, not what Mel Robbins is doing. Do what is the best use of your spirit, right? I think that's the first one. The second one is, I kind of touched on it. It needs to be balanced. So you don't want to be one-dimensional. Hear about vocal variety, but I think it's even beyond vocal variety. I think it's just not kind of the same thing, the same dosage at the same level in the same way. Even if it's a story, I think it can be overdone. So I think balance is good. And then the last thing, which is important, is that it's not about you, right? So often we talk about ourselves. We talk about the stories that we can maybe connect to whatever ideas or big ideas we'd like our audiences to know. But at the end of the day, your audience is the hero. Your audience is who you're speaking to and about. And so, sometimes speakers can get way too much about themselves and they think that that's helpful. I think it's a real art to take what's in you, but making it about other people.
Absolutely. I agree. Channeling your style. And it's funny when you talk about balance, I like to teach people to listen to the radio, to music on the radio. To me, a song is such a great instructor on how to speak, because there's no song that's going to keep your attention, hold your attention, that's the same note.
I love that.
And if you just listen to it, how they use pauses, how they use the different tones, how they are, know when to add the power and when to add the softness. If we would just think of that as we're speaking, it takes away some of the pressures of it, I guess. And definitely you have to make those people that are listening to you see them. That's what will keep them to want to know more, because they're often in self-discovery as well, but it makes them feel comfortable that they're in your story.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. How can speaking improve the quality of your business connections?
I think speaking is one of those things that goes often underrated. I think it probably is number one, if not top. It's definitely top three. In my opinion, it might be number one tool that, even if it makes you cringe, it's something that you have to lean into. And it doesn't matter in what leadership space you are, whether it's a meeting, whether it is a public speaking, you have to make a statement or a welcome, whether it is a full-on keynote, it doesn't matter. Your speaking is how you are. It's part of your brand. It's how people receive you. So much information is being passed just by you and your voice and the way you use it. It's your instrument. I think it has profound impact on your credibility. If people want to do business with you, and it doesn't mean you have to be a perfect speaker, because I'm in no way a perfect speaker.
Yes.
But it's something that is so important.
Yeah. I think sometimes the imperfection, again, endears you to your audience, that again, they can see themselves, and especially those that are afraid of speaking. If they see that you're perfect, then that just adds another ring that they think is out of their reach. But if you mess up and live to tell the story,
I like that. Yeah.
I always say, look, you did your first speech and you didn't die. I haven't killed one yet. But the interesting thing is that oftentimes it's not the product or the service that will get a person to buy. It's the person that's delivering that message. And how are you delivering your message, right? So to me, it is number one. That's why it's one of my passions, is to just have people find their voice. So we're going to go back a ways.
Okay.
You had an interesting background in the beginning. What advice do you wish you would have had at 20?
It probably would tie into kind of what I was saying about not necessarily. It's okay if it doesn't go exactly how you think it's going to.
Yeah.
Life has your back, right? It'll come back around, maybe even in a better way than you originally thought. But even when I would tell my 20-year-old self, even when it looks like you're falling off track, keep going. Because the path is it's clearing out. Maybe you needed to make that turn. Maybe you needed to slow down. It's all working together.
Yeah, and you would not be the person you are today if you didn't go through what you did.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
It's time for rapid fire.
Okay.
This is where we will just give you a phrase or question, most likely a question, and just quickly answer it. We're going to get through 5, hopefully, this evening. So the top 3 tips for building your brand.
Don't be afraid to use your interests and your past experiences. That's number 1. Number 2, do what feels right. And the third is let go of perfection.
Very good. That's one that you need to all write down on a sheet of paper, stick it to your monitors. Let go of perfection. It is not happening. So what are some embodied tools that we can use to amplify the power of our presence and stay true to our authentic self? What are those tools?
I would say get quiet. And quiet to me doesn't necessarily mean meditation, although it could. Because I know some people, don't necessarily or feel like they can't do meditation. So get quiet and really tune in to that space that when things, happen, to be true. You know it. There's a voice that is telling you yes or no, right? And only you have the answer to that.
And it's up to you to listen to the voice.
Absolutely. Your best friend doesn't know the voice. Your mom doesn't know the voice. You know the voice, but you have to get quiet. And sometimes that means just not so much action. It could mean going for a walk. It could mean, something quiet still.
And if you look at it also from the community that you talked about too, it's so important to have that community that understands what you're doing, what you're going through, what you're going to go through. And sometimes, your family, your friends don't. They are not in this space. So often we need that community. What was your transition like these last 3 years? And was it a transformation as much as a transition?
It was a transformation for me. I had a lot of loss, both in like the realest sense, like a loss of a parent. I had the loss of a really significant relationship. But as Elizabeth Gilbert has said, ruin is the road to transformation. And it's been hard, but I feel more alive in my own skin and have this uncanny just peace on the other side, even through the most difficult moments, probably some of the most difficult moments of my life.
You just give me chills just now. That's awesome. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
What do you consider your greatest accomplishment?
I think my greatest accomplishment is really understanding and knowing myself in a way that empowers me to continually grow and move to like newer and deeper levels of life.
So what's your next path on this journey of your life?
Well, I think, we're wrapping up the year, so it's kind of like a season of rest and reflection.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, I have also a lot of plans for next year that haven't been fully, they're not implemented yet because I'm planning for the next year, but I just see, kind of a new door of my business and the partnerships that I create and the people that I meet. I feel just really great, beautiful kindred spirits and connections and doing wonderful things to give back and create more of that community like we're talking about.
Yeah. Sounds so wonderful. So then in 12 months or less, we'll have you back to see where did your journey take you.
That would be wonderful.
Is there another book?
There is not the same book. I have another book in the queue, but I'm not sure if it will be this year or early the year after.
Well, we'll look for that.
Okay.
All right, it is time now for us to find out how we can get in touch with Nicole. So Nicole's preferred way for you to check her out, doesn't sound well, to check out her information is at LinkedIn. So if you go to Nicole Edwards, CPLP, that's Nicole Edwards, all smashed together, CPLP, Charlie Paul, Loose Paul. I don't know. I'm terrible at that. She's also on Instagram. She has a website, which is edwardsauthentic.com. And also Edwards Authentic is Instagram. I'm going to let Nicole talk to you about what she has, what we call a gift, but it's how you can learn more about what she does.
Yes. So LinkedIn is definitely the best way to connect with me. So please feel free to send me a message there. If you do listen to this episode and you want to connect with me, you can do so there. And then if you would like a copy of my book, it's called The International Women of Color Who Boss Up. If you shoot me a message and say, hey, I heard you on the podcast, I would love a copy. I will send you a copy of that for free. It's got some great stories in there of 16 women from around the world who have really just persevered and gone through, sometimes the unimaginable in the pursuit of their purpose. So I'd love to connect with you. And if that's something that's interesting to you, I would be happy to send you a copy of that.
Awesome. So that is the interview that we have for today. I want to thank my guest, Nicole Edwards, for being such a great guest. She shared some wonderful tips, some insights. She shared her authentic self, as well as her the vulnerability of her background, of the things that she had to overcome to become this awesome powerhouse of a woman that she is. So I appreciate the time that you spent with us tonight.
Thank you so much, Vicki, for having me.
Yeah. So if you like this podcast, please do subscribe. Please go to Nicole's LinkedIn and chat with her and comment on the fact that you did see this podcast so that you can take advantage of her book. Again, her book is, I have it written here, Women of Color Who Boss, International Women of Color Who Boss Up. And it is available on Amazon if you don't want to go and link with Nicole, but we should just chat. As always, I remind everyone that life is a journey and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Nettling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Nettling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.